And I'm back with my top 10 teams heading into the MLB season. We're looking at 10 through 1 in my preseason power rankings here. Before I get into it, hit that subscribe button down below. Hopefully get us to 500 subscribers. It'd be great. I know it doesn't do you guys anything, but I'd really appreciate that. Before we get into it here, we're going to start with the Houston Astros at number 10. And not too much this offseason. They brought in Tatsuyui Imai from the obviously NPB, and he's going to be a big part to this rotation behind Hunter Brown and Christian Javier. And after that, that's where the concerns are with Burrows, McCullers, and Wise. Can they stay healthy and can they make it through the season? That's kind of the big question mark there, the 4, 5, possibly 6 spot in the rotation there for the Astros coming into the season. And then the lineup pretty much stays the same. Um, Not really too much is in and out, besides Taylor Trammell coming in to replace McCormick, Sanchez, Dubon, all those guys. Framber obviously leaving is the big name that they lost this offseason. Uh, but the Astros, they're going to be a decent team. They always are, as long as Jordan's healthy this year, Correa stays healthy, and one of the most underappreciated third basemen in the league, Isaac Paredes. If he can have another great year, get to 20 home runs, same with Altuve, this team's going to be very good. But over under of 86.5 wins, I am going with the under in this one. I just think the AL West is a little bit better than it was last year. Now that we do see what the Athletics have in store, the Angels, if they stay healthy, what they can do. Then the Mariners, of course, who you haven't seen yet in this video. And then obviously the Astros are in there as well. So other than that, I just don't see these Astros getting to 90 wins. I think they're closer to 80 wins than they are 90 wins. For that reason, I'm going with the under. At number 9, I have the Philadelphia Phillies. And talk about not doing too much in this offseason. They lost Ranger Suarez, one of the best pitchers in baseball last year, traded Matt Strahm to the Royals, and let Walker Buehler go after a late season ad. Max Kepler, Castellanos, and Bader are all gone as well. So who do you bring in? Brian De La Cruz, I think, could be an interesting piece off the bench. Adolis Garcia is your big signing, if you want to call it that, because obviously they brought back Schwarber, which was a huge signing for them. Then after that, it wasn't really too much big moves for the bullpen, pitching wise. But I do think this pitching staff is one of the best, if not the best, in baseball, which could be a hot take. I know Sanchez, I'm high on him. I think he could be the Cy Young winner. Luzardo, if he pitches well again. Nola, he stays healthy, he's going to be good. Then Taijuan Walker and Andrew Painter. Don't know what to expect out of them as the season progresses, but I think we're going to like what we see. As you can see there on the right, this team did strike out a ton of batters last year. Um, didn't walk a ton as well. The 29th means that they were the lowest, not the highest. And hitting wise, this team was one of the best teams hitting overall in baseball last year. Running it back with Real Muto as well, bringing up Justin Crawford. So I think this Phillies team, they're going to have to rely on the bottom part of this order to get it done this year because we know what the top 4 or 5 hitters can do in this lineup. And a loaded NL East, obviously, with the Mets regrouping as well. But with that being said, I am going with the over for the Phillies. They won 96 games last year, and it was no joke. If they're running back almost the same team minus a starting pitcher, I do like where this Phillies team is going. Don't be too surprised if this team, ends up making a deep run this year as well. And number 8, it's going to be my Detroit Tigers. And their big moves this offseason were re-signing the guys that they needed to re-sign to come back, including Gleyber Torres, um, and bringing back Justin Verlander. Obviously, he's the big name that a lot of people were, speculating when when the offseason started. But speculating Framber Valdez was not what I think a lot of Tigers fans and analysts had. I'm glad they brought him in because I think it's writing on the wall that it could be Scooble's last year here in Detroit, depending on how much money he wants. But it's a great ad bringing in Valdez. Scooble Valdez is your 1-2, pretty disgusting. Two lefties, especially if you're in a 3-game series in the postseason. Those are two guys you don't want to face. Bullpen, just bringing in Kenley Jansen, now the veteran that's just going from team to team. And they didn't really lose too much. Traded Justin Henry Malloy to Tampa. He was pretty much a 40-man roster cut. Andy Ibanez let him walk. Paddock and all the other relievers let them walk as well. So this Tigers team, um, They need to, if they can not play how they did in September and play how they did April through August, this team's going to be easily over the 85.5 wins this year. I think they can get 90 plus if everything goes well for them in the division and they can keep playing how they did last year. Their thing is staying healthy. If Parker Meadows can stay healthy, have a reliable center fielder out there, that's going to be the key for this team moving forward. Could we see Max Clark later in the year? That's the big question mark. He's starting in AAA. And Kevin McGonigal, obviously the big name prospect here that we are all waiting to see. Obviously, he did make the team, so we're going to see how he performs well for the first part of the season, and then hopefully he can have a good season as well. Number seven, it's going to be the Boston Red Sox. Last year going 89 and 73, a decent season for their standards. Hitting wise, very good hitting team, a top 10 hitting team in almost every category besides home runs. Pitching, about middle of the pack last year for everything. So this team, did enough to get into the postseason. But what did they do in the offseason? Well, they kind of tore it down and brought it all back. Got rid of Devers last trade deadline, hoping they were going to bring in Bregman for long term, and that unfortunately did not happen. So what did they do? They traded for Caleb Durbin from Milwaukee, and in that trade, they gave away David Hamilton and Kyle Harrison. Brought in Wilson Contreras from St. Louis, and they gave away Hunter Dobbins in that one. And then signed Isaiah Kiner Falefa, Brendan Rodgers, Ranger Suarez, the big name, like I just mentioned here, going from Philly to Boston. And I think the rotation is going to be very good. They also brought in Johan Oviedo, Sonny Gray. So you have Crochet, Gray, Bello, Oviedo, and Suarez. I really like where this rotation can head in this AL East. The big story, though, is going to be Roman Anthony. I mean, obviously, this guy is one of the top prospects in baseball last year. He showed it, played really well before he got hurt. And World Baseball Classic, he played well. The Red Sox also are going to rely on Trevor Story. I know it's not a name that you can really write home about. I know last year he played really good, but what happens if Story goes down? That's a bridge I don't think anyone wants to cross. Do they move Mayer to short and kind of rearrange the infield? That's something that I don't think the Red Sox want to see this year. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But this lineup I think is going to be deep and it's definitely going to be able to compete with those in the American League. With that being said, I am going with the over for this Boston Red Sox team. 87.5 wins. I think they're close to a 90 win ball club. So I do like the over here in this one. Like I said, it's going to be a tough AL East, but one of these teams is going to break out, and I think that's going to be the Boston Red Sox. And number six is going to be the San Diego Padres. This team last year won 90 games, and they did it because this team just kept on hitting and pitching. Dylan Cease was a big part of that. He's gone. And who'd they bring in to replace him? Well, Yermain Marquez, Walker Buehler, and Griffin Canning. All those guys looking like they're going to be in the starting rotation to start the year. Tristan McKenzie is an interesting add as well, possibly a filler for a spot start or a long reliever. And then bringing in Miguel Andujar, I think it's an underrated signing for this team. It's going to be him, Ty France, and Gavin Sheets rotating at first pretty much, and Andujar pretty much can play anywhere. So good signing there. Lost O'Hearn, Arise, and Maldonado and Iglesias. Those two guys retired. So this Padres team looking to run it back here in the NL West, competing with the Dodgers pretty much for that top spot. I do have them going over their 85.5 wins this year. It's going to be relying on Jackson Merrill to have a bounce back year after last year's disappointment. Second year, I think he can. Tatis, we know what he can do if he stays healthy. Same with Machado and Bogarts. But they are going to have to rely on Laureano. And I don't know how you're going to feel. He had a career year last year on the Padres, brought him back, and we'll see how it goes for Laureano. Hopefully, he can keep up playing how he did because he's really good defensively. And if he can keep swinging the bat how he did last year, could be an all-star this year and really a big part of this Padres team. Starting off my top five, it's going to be the New York Mets. And I couldn't even fit all the names into the additions and subtractions for both sides just because the Mets did a lot this offseason. Let Pete Alonso walk, let Mullins walk, let Winker walk, still a free agent, Canning walk, Diaz and Soto are the big two, and Tyler Rogers as well. So the bullpen took a big hit. Traded Brandon Nimmo to Texas. Jet Williams sent him over to Milwaukee with Brandon Sproat for Freddie Peralta and Tobias Myers, which I think is a great trade for both sides. They brought in Simeon for Nimmo, brought in Luis Robert from the White Sox and taking a swing on him. And who did they sign? They signed Jorge Polanco, the big name Bo Bichette, Thought he was going to be a Philly, but the Mets swoop in there and steal him. And Devin Williams, Luke Weaver coming over from the other side of New York, coming from the Yankees to the Mets, and then Craig Kimbrell, who just seems like he is going to a team trying to win a World Series. And I don't blame him because this Mets team last year was really good. They're kind of going to switch up how they're going to play baseball this year. I don't think they're going to be going for the long ball as much after letting Alonso walk and bringing in Polanco and Bichette and guys that hit for contact, hit extra base hits, not always home runs, but good hitters at the plate. And the pitching staff looks pretty legit. Freddie Peralta, Nolan McLean looking to take a huge step forward this year. Clay Holmes could be very good. David Peterson, underrated starting pitcher in baseball. And then Manaya and Senga, who's had an excellent spring training. He can keep that up. He'll be back to his, 2023 form, I believe it was. This Mets team can be very dangerous. And for that reason, I am going with the over for the Mets. 90.5 wins is a lot to bet on, but I'm going with the over. I think the Mets, it could be their year to possibly make a run with the Phillies. Who knows? Maybe they play in the NLCS championship. And one of these teams I think is going to compete, and if not, compete with the Dodgers, beat the Dodgers in the playoffs this year in between those two NL East teams. So why can't it be the Mets this year? I'm kind of buying in on the hype. And talk about a team you want to buy in the hype in. It's going to be the Seattle Mariners. This team, went to 16 innings, I think it was, 14 innings with the Tigers last year in Game 5 of the ALDS. And they go to Toronto, take that one to the brink, and just were, a few outs away from a World Series. So the Mariners are right there. What they do to possibly get there? Well, unfortunately, they lost Suarez and Polanco in free agency. Traded Harry Ford away just because Cal Raleigh, it's his job for the long haul. And Ty Pete, I just don't see him kind of having a spot in this outfield anytime soon. So they let them go. Who did they bring in? Well, they brought in Brendan Donovan in that Ty Pete deal, which I love because he can play almost anywhere. Great hitter. Rob Refsnyder, great defensive outfielder. And after that, it wasn't too much. But the Mariners pitching staff might be the best in the American League. You look at that staff: Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, potential Cy Young winner this year, Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Emerson Hancock. I mean, the first four guys you see there in the projected starters are all projected to have an under 4 ERA this year, which is wild. And Hancock's not too far off. So this Mariners team, it's gonna be tough to score runs against them in their bullpen. It's going to be tough to score against. Still have Munoz on this team, and you don't want to face him in the ninth. So the Mariners are going to rely on the pitching staff, and Julio, Cal Raleigh, and Naylor brought him back as well, signed him, which I think is a great deal, and Arozarena. So this team right there last year, and I think they're going to be in the mix again this year. That's why I'm going with the over 89.5 wins for this Mariners ball club. My top three, it's going to be the Blue Jays, the team that did get to the World Series last year, and unfortunately, we're 2 outs away from a World Series win until the Dodgers did the Dodgers thing. And what do they do in the offseason to address it? Well, they brought in Eloy and Sanchez to address the outfield, and the pitching staff brought in Dylan Cease. That's a huge get for them to pair with Gossman, Cody Ponce, Max Scherzer signed him back, and Eric Lauer. So the back half of this rotation is a question mark. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets addressed at the deadline when this team's in it. Who did they lose? Bo Bichette, obviously, he's the big name there. IKF and Sir Anthony Dominguez. So kind of tit for tat. Wasn't really too much here for the Blue Jays what they lost besides Bichette. They replaced Bichette's money and his production with hopefully a very reliable starting pitcher in Dylan Cease. And I think this Blue Jays team yet again going to be at the top of the AL East, but I am going with the under in this one. I just don't think the pitching staff can hold up all year. We've seen this team get plagued by injuries from time to time again over the years, and I think I'm not saying it's going to be the case, but I just don't like the depth here. Savage obviously is already on the IL, and that's something to manage as well. But the lineup looks pretty good yet again. I think this team can really hit, but can they pitch? That's the big question mark for this Blue Jays team this year. Number two is going to be the New York Yankees, and they didn't lose too much this offseason. Devin Williams, Weaver didn't really do too much for them last year, as a lot of fans were booing Devin Williams, and he couldn't really get it figured out, so he's gone. And who did they bring in? Well, unfortunately, they didn't really address that bullpen too much because Rafael Montero is a veteran that's going from team to team. Beto, Blackburn could be starters, could be long relievers. Traded for Ryan Weathers, which I think is a good trade there for the Yankees. Underrated arm, lefty arm from Miami. We'll get some shine here in New York. Signed Randall Grichuk, great against lefties, so I like the signing there. Traded for Max Schumann from the A's, kind of utility player, which fits in well, nicely for this Yankees team. And that's about it. I mean, they re-signed Cody Bellinger, which was a huge get for them. I know, you didn't really sign anybody in free agency, but re-signing Bellinger, I think, was a top priority for them, and they got that done. They are going to have to rely on McMahon and Caballero on the left side of the infield. Great defensively. The bats are question marks there. As you can see, they're both projected to hit under 220. So they're going to have decent years. Maybe if they can hit around 240, 250, I think a lot of these fans will take it, especially if McMahon can hit 20 home runs and Caballero gets close to 10, swipes maybe 40 bags. I think you can chalk it up as a success. But my X factor isn't going to be Aaron Judge or Max Fried or Garrett Cole when he comes back. It's going to be Jazz Chisholm. I think if Jazz Chisholm can put on a season he put on last year, I know he wants to go 50-50 this year, has never even done 40-40 for home runs and stolen bases. But if he can get 35 and 40, I think the Yankees are going to be winning a lot more games this year. And 94 and 68 last year, I think it's pretty reasonable to put them around that number this year. So that's why I am going with the over here for the Yankees. Number one, I'm sure they're number one in every single person's rankings that we've seen. It's going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers, and how can you not put them at one? Uh, Best hitting team in baseball last year, one of the best pitching teams in baseball going into the year. Not last year. Last year was kind of a struggle as they all got hurt, but going into the year, they're projected to be one of the best rotations of baseball. Just like the Mariners, their top four are projected to be at an ERA of under four, and Sasaki is their five. Right now is barely over four ERA, so a lot on paper that you can like about this Dodgers staff. And Yamamoto, Glasnow, Otani, Sheehan, I think are all going to be great starters this year. And if Sasaki can live up to the hype, I mean, who's going to stop this Dodgers team? I think it's not going to be the bullpen. It's not going to be their lineup. I really don't know how this Dodgers team is going to lose. And for that reason, I'm going with the under on the Dodgers. And that's because I think they're going to have such a big lead heading into September that they're going to try to tweak different things for the playoffs, maybe sit a few more guys than needed because they have such a big lead. I think they're going to be pretty close to 100 wins. So I do like the under here, though, for 102, because 102 wins is a lot of wins. I mean, that's projecting them to only lose 60 games this year. So obviously speaks volumes to how this Dodgers team is. And it's because they signed Kyle Tucker. I mean, and Edwin Diaz, the two, possibly two best free agents. They signed him. Tucker fits in to this lineup. They get that lefty bat, not only just the lefty bat, but one of the best lefty bats in baseball, and then one of the best closers in baseball you get too. So this Dodgers team reloaded yet again, and they only lost Conforto, longtime potential first ballot Hall of Famer Clayton Kershaw. Gonsolin, still a free agent, kind of let him walk after some disappointing years. Then Yates and Kopech are gone from the bullpen. So this team did more than enough to refuel to go back to back to back. That's the question we are all waiting to see as we enter this year.